I have more bad news. And once again, we are not going to be putting fan art on this one because we are going to be talking about death. So just letting you guys know right now that that's what's going on here. So we have another death at the hands of ICE agents. ICE agents kill a man in Biddeford, spurring protests. 4 bullet holes are seen through the windshield of a Kia sedan at the scene where Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents fatally shot a man in his vehicle on Monday morning. And Jessica is mad, saying, son of a bitch, and I understand. It is a thing to be angry about. Agreed. Now, the reason I wanted to cover this, I'm not even going to lie, is because this right here, this fucking broke me and made me angry as shit last night. I'm going to read it exactly as it's written. The little girl was still in bluey pajamas. No older than 3, she was trying to smell the flowers. At her side, a pink rolling bag. Her father, Joan Sebastian Guerrero, had just been fatally shot and yanked from a car that he had been driving. Now he lay handcuffed on the street, where he would remain for 5 hours. A woman nearby yelled, "You took her dad, you took her dad," according to Celia Humston, 22, who witnessed the interaction in Biddeford on Monday morning. It is the second time in a week that federal immigration and customs agents have stopped the wrong vehicle while executing an arrest warrant and fatally shot someone. And agents, of course, were not wearing body cams in either shooting. Immigration advocates in Maine said Guerrero, a 26-year-old from Colombia, was authorized to work in the United States and had been issued a social security number. Mark Wayne Mullen, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, confirmed to Senator Angus King Monday that agents were working to execute an arrest warrant based on a subject's immigration status, but that Guerrero was not the target. The statement contradicted what Mullen had previously told the senator. Multiple outlets reported that Lorenzo Salgado Arujo, a Mexican national shot and killed by federal agents during a traffic stop in Houston last week, was also not the target of the day's operations. Guerrero was identified by a neighbor who witnessed the event, and the identification was confirmed by an immigration advocacy organization that said that they had been in touch with the family. I'm gonna be honest, in a sane world, the nanosecond that an ICE agent did that, he would be dead. I'm sorry, I'm done playing by the stupid fucking rule that we have to accept that they're allowed to kill us and the people that we love randomly, and we can't do anything about it other than piss and moan on the internet. But if I say even for a second, hey, maybe defending ourselves is a good idea, somebody's gonna go like, are you advocating for political violence? I'm sorry, but in what world should I accept people just rolling over and getting shot? Why? Jessica says, can we please do our own January 6th already? No, we do not do a fucking insurrection. We're better than them. Jesus fucking Christ, Jessica, calm your fucking tits. Like, I get it. Situation's terrible. It is. But there is a difference between the statement, people should be allowed to defend themselves, and the statement, we should storm the United States Capitol, thereby doing the exact same thing that we've been blaming the Republicans for tolerating the entire goddamn time. No. The shooting occurred at the intersection of Poole and Hill Streets as Guerrero tried to flee in the direction of the officer, according to the Office of the Maine Attorney General, which is investigating the incident. In a statement Monday evening, a spokesperson for ICE said agents were at the last known address of someone with a final remove order. ICE law enforcement attempted to conduct a vehicle stop. The vehicle attempted to flee the scene, and, fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon. I'm so scared about the public safety! Bang, bang, bang. No. Taryn Baxter says, how long until people start standing their ground? So, like, there's 2 scenarios that happen as a result of that. There's the good ending, where people start standing their ground against ICE, and suddenly ICE does not feel emboldened to go into your neighborhoods anymore. But there's the other side of that. There's the complete other side in that. Alice says, what? So they were valid in escaping? Alice, I have a question. Do you understand what the words judge, jury, and executioner mean? And that they are separate fucking things? So if somebody is fleeing the scene, firing your gun at them means that you are assuming that you are all of them at the same time, which is not something that we allow. Says, I mean the person running from ICE. Yeah, I'm aware. I'm fucking aware. Counter question, do you think that when somebody is trying to escape, which is, I don't know, the natural human tendency to want freedom, something Germany, that we should just fucking kill them? Like, is that the opinion there? Like, I'm sorry, but no. There are other ways to track a person down than just, like, doming them. Like, no. I'm sorry. But like I said, the other scenario that happens when you have the stand your ground thing is that ICE then gets more emboldened. Said, no, I mean, they shouldn't have been shot. That's not what... Huh? Okay, so what you said was what? So they were valid in escaping, question mark, when instead of escaping, they got shot. You see how I'm confused, right? Statement A, they tried to escape and got shot to death. Response, so they were valid in escaping, question mark. Take those two things together. They come out to mean, no, they come out to mean the thing that I assumed. Which may not be what you were assuming. It said, yeah, autism-tisming. Okay. Raka says, technically in self-defense, you can't shoot somebody when they're running away. They're not a threat anymore. The moment you do it, it's first-degree murder. Yeah, but then ICE gets away with this shit. So, like, here's the fun cycle that happens here. And to finish up the other thing, if ICE gets emboldened because more people are standing their ground, then suddenly people just start getting executed in general. But I would hope for the former situation, not the latter. Now, on the other hand, here's how this cycle works. ICE agent does something blatantly illegal, right? They do something blatantly illegal. Said they were valid in escaping equals they were justified in running away. That's not how that reads to me. How long until someone uses I thought he was ICE in defense in court for garden variety murder? I hope they start doing that, honestly. But, okay, here's the cycle and why it's frustrating. So ICE will do something like this that is blatantly illegal. Let's say that they do this 10 times in a week. And in that time, 2 ICE officers get in trouble. They get lambasted by the public. They mean their jobs, or they lose their jobs, all that. Okay? They get put in prison. Then we say the statement, ICE can't keep getting away with this. Then right-wingers use the evidence that a handful of ICE officers sometimes get punished as evidence that the justice system is working exactly as it should, and there is nothing that needs to be changed here. Because they will have a handful of things they can point to as their argument that the justice system is working okay. Meanwhile, we have a handful of things we can point to that show that it's not working okay. I would argue that in a just system, we wouldn't have people getting shot in the first place. But that's just me. Maybe I'm dumb there. Raga says, I mean, you never expect to get shot. Yeah, I don't know how Suris saw it. Right, so, okay, let me explain the way that read to me. When I say that ICE shot the person as they were trying to escape, and somebody says so they were valid in escaping, my brain reads that as, so you're saying that we legally should have allowed them to escape, that was a valid thing they should be allowed to do? And maybe it's the part of me that is so used to having to have these arguments with an interlocutor that is not on my side, that my brain immediately defaults to that. But if what you're saying is, so they were valid in wanting to escape because the person's first inclination was to shoot them, I can see how you came to that conclusion. So to my read, that statement could mean either or. And there's where my confusion was. Purple Sun Goku, thank you for the follow. Daniel Boucher, who witnessed the aftermath of the shooting, heard what sounded like gunshots and saw the law enforcement agents in vests ram the white Kia sedan. They pulled on Guerrero, who was bleeding heavily from the head. He was talking, he said. I tried to stop, said Butcher, who was shaken by the observation. Other witnesses told Bangor Daily News that they saw an SUV ram Guerrero's car before agents surrounded him with weapons drawn. Officers yelled weapons several times before firing in the car. The paper shared video of agents pulling Guerrero's limp body from the vehicle. Do you remember when we covered that church that had the guy getting executed by everybody, and how we pointed out that we shouldn't be normalizing that shit? Kids are still getting it normalized to them because of this. Witnesses heard as many as 7 gunshots. The Kia Rio that Guerrero was driving had at least 4 bullet holes in the windshield. By midday, Biddeford was flooded with several hundred protesters who chanted with signs and street corners, rallied in Mechanics Park, and stormed into the local office. Good! People stormed into the local office of Senator Susan Collins, Maine's lone Republican in Congress. Good. Good. If she's going to allow this kind of shit to happen in the state she is supposed to serve, then she deserves to be harassed. Sorry. I've had somebody get mad at me for that opinion in the past, where like, you think politicians should be harassed by their constituents? Yes! Yes, I do! Yes, I believe the people who signed the document that said that they are going to be beholden to us should in fact be beholden to us. Yes, I believe that. Holy fucking shit, why would I not believe that, you goddamn fucking troglodyte? What the hell? A vigil was scheduled for Monday evening, with more protests expected Tuesday, which is today. Democrats vying for the last-minute nomination of the Maine Senate race all denounced federal immigration enforcement efforts in one way or another. It's so cool that they're denouncing ICE. Why was ICE never disbanded by any of the Democratic administrations? Just out of curiosity, I just need to know, why did Biden or Obama not abolish them? When we saw how they got used in the first Trump administration, why did they continue existing under Democratic rule as well? Like, don't get me wrong. If we have to have the conversation about lesser of two evils, then yes, the Democrats are the lesser of the two evils. Duh. 100%. On the flip side of that, we should also be willing to literally grab Democrats and hold their feet to the fire. And not just before they get into office, like we did with Plattner, and by we, I mean everybody except the people who were defending him, which was me as well, up until the end there. So, you know, sometimes we gotta eat crow. But no, not just before they get into office, but once they are in office, their feet need to be held to the fire constantly. Because evidence has shown that despite the fact that things get marginally better under them, there are certain things that they will not stop at all. Collins called for a full and impartial investigation, as did several other Republicans running for office in Maine. Of course, they would call for that, but who's going to be running that investigation? A spokeswoman for Collins on Monday evening... spokeswoman for Collins said Monday evening that the Department of Homeland Security's Boston office of the Inspector General has taken over the investigation. The DHS? The people in charge of ICE are handling the investigation? The DHS? So Walmart investigates Walmart and finds that Walmart committed no fraud is what's going to fucking happen again. Okay, cool. That's great. That's fantastic. That's my absolute favorite. The state attorney general confirmed the federal officer who shot Guerrero has been placed on leave as per standard protocol. The Guardian reported last week that there have been 10 fatal shootings nationwide since Donald Trump was elected to a second term and made immigration enforcement a top priority. Blood still stained the crosswalk at Pull Hill Streets Monday evening. So, if you guys ever wanted a reason to go out and protest, Marco says, I imagine the same reason that Obama didn't get rid of the Patriot Act despite running on that. Guy from the DHS sits down and goes, well, you could do that, but it gives us a lot of data. Do you want to be the president who had a terrorist attack happen on his watch that could have been caught if he hadn't removed it? And that hypothetical spooked him? I'm gonna be honest, I think that the president should have more balls in that particular regard. I am so tired of the Republicans getting the president with the balls to do stupid shit. Meanwhile, we get the pussies. Like, I do not like that. I do not like this they go low, we go high shit that the Democrats keep doing. Use the power that you have once you get into office to make things better, and then before you leave, if you are so worried about that power getting consolidated into the presidency, which it has been, then simply make sure that that power disappears. When you've got a majority everywhere, in the Supreme Court, in the Congress, and the executive branch, when you've got that, use that to enact the things you need and then strip the power away afterwards. But they're not going to fucking do that because they like power too. Jessica says, I completely understand trying to stop actual terrorists from attacking. That's a good thing. However, ICE is not doing that at all. No, it's not. Nope. Wingcaster says, anything Eyes, your snowing neighbor, can do to help? Right now, the best thing you can do is raise awareness about this shit happening and try to light a fire under your neighbor's asses and let them know that you don't feel safe. And this is why you don't feel safe, and that we should not tolerate these people being on our streets. And by these people, I mean Ice. The only reason that Ice is able to get away with this every time is because people are isolated and they feel emboldened. But I promise you, there are more of us than there are ICE agents. There are infinitely more of us than there are ICE agents. And that is the reason why they fire their guns, because they know that and they are fucking scared. We should be protesting enough to give them a good fucking reason to be scared. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.